Good morning, my dear friends and my dear students. Today, we are going to learn a topic which is very important and very relevant. Even it was earlier and it is very relevant today. That is a social transformation. How was this social transformation? Was very important aspect earlier. What was the necessity of it? And what are the social reform movements that existed and it exists even till today? And we are also going to gain some of the ideas of social reformers. Yes, my dear friends, today we are going to talk about the History Unit 10, Social Transformation in Tamil Nadu. So, before getting into the transformation of the society in Tamil Nadu, we have to have some idea about all over the nation, India. In the 18th century, when the Europeans came to India and conquered the political power, they concerned with the annexing of India, conquering it, which started in the beginning of 19th century. They also reordered Indian society. What are the manner they reordered? Earlier, what was the system which were existing in India? They changed into something else. For example, new revenue settlements, which was very much influenced by the British utilitarian ideas and the evangelicals. The another concept which they concentrated was impose their culture superiority over the Indian people. So these are the major two reasons how they brought about some of the changes and transformation in the society. This reordering of the Indian society by the British people caused various reactions among the Indians during the 19th century. If you want to know what are the reactions given by our Indians towards this reordering of the society, the major educated Indians from different parts of our country began to feel this humiliation, began to experience the suppression of various aspects of British rule in India or European powers in India, and they responded by seeking their social and cultural identity from their past. Though we find it as the negative aspects, but still there is a merit, there is an advantage. It is understood some merits in the colonial arguments and they were read, it is noticed, and they were ready to reform what the British government trying to bring it. This reaction towards the European rule resulted in the social and religious reform movement in the modern India. This particular historical development is also identified as the Indian Renaissance. So this is how this transformation of the society started from the beginning. Now we talk about the concept of Renaissance. What is this Renaissance? Renaissance is an ideological and cultural phenomenon aspect. It is closely tied to the modernity, rationalism, and the progressive movement of the society. The critical thinking is, as its root, this ideology of humanism stimulated creative energy in all spheres, in all the areas of social life of the people. At the same time, knowledge such as language, literature, philosophy, music, printing, architecture, and so on. So, the transformation changes in the society in all these aspects are termed as Renaissance. Now, we are going to move on to the topic of the lesson, social transformation in Tamil Nadu. We talked about the reason of transformation, how it started. Now we are coming particular to our own Tamil Nadu. How was the Renaissance took place in Tamil Nadu? As you have seen earlier in the introduction, the cultural hegemony. Hegemony means it is the domination of some power. So, domination of colonialism and the rise of humanism brought several changes in the socio-cultural life of the Indian subcontinent. This we have seen already in the previous introduction. Now, when you talk about this modern Tamil Nadu, this also experienced such a historical transition, a changes. So that's what we are going to talk about now. To start with, Tamil language and culture, which played a significant role in the identity construction. The first one, the introduction of printing press. Second one, linguistic research on Dravidian languages. And the third one, underpin the process of Tamil Renaissance. So when you talk about all these major concepts, the first one, introduction of printing press. Before that, the religious literature was taken up predominantly at this time for publication purpose in the early years after the advent of printing technology. So we are going to start with the first one, the introduction of printing press. So to say about the advent of the printing technology, Tamil was the first non-European language that went into print. So to say, Tamil language was, after or among all the European languages being printed, Tamil language was the first non-European language which the letters which were printed. To start with the first one, Thambiran Vanakkam. So Thambiran Vanakkam, which was published from Goa in the year 1578. And in 1709, a full-fledged printing press had been established. We have to be thankful to the Zingenberg in Trancobar because of them it has started in the year 1709. The another important one is the Pirikura. It was published in the year 1812, which was one of the earliest Tamil literary texts. This publication led to the resurgence of interest among the Tamil scholars in publishing the more ancient Tamil classics around this particular time duration. So to say, Tirukkural, the printing of Tirukkural became another inspiration for so many other Tamil scholars. We will be talking about them later. These Tamil scholars, the Tamil scholars in the 19th century. So when you talk about Tamil scholars like C.W. Damodaranaar, U.B. Swaminathan, who spent their whole lifetime in the rediscovery of the Tamil classics. So we'll start with the first one, Tamil scholar, that is C.W. Damodaran. Have some little idea about him. He collected and edited different palm leaf manuscripts. We know it in most of our language, which was written, all were carved on the palm leaf. Palm means panai maram. In that leaf, it was carved over. So he collected all these manuscripts and started printing it. Okay, that was the first step that Damodaran has taken. His edition includes other edition, not only the palm leaf manuscripts, at the same time Tolkapiyam, Veeracholayam, Irayanar Agapurul. Another one is Ilakkana Velakam, Kalitogai and Cholamani. So these are the various other editions he has brought about. The second person, U.V. Swaminathan. When you talk about Swaminathan, he was a student of Meenakshi Sundaranath, a great person. Swaminathan took an effort to publish the classical text, such as various other concepts like Sivaga Chindamani, Pattupattu, another one is Chilapadigaram, Purananuru, Purapurul Venba Malay, Manimegalai, Ainkurunuru, Paditripattu. All of them are in different years. They were being published by him. So to say, thus the publication of these ancient literary texts created an awareness among the Tamil people about their historical tradition, about their language, about their literature and their religion. The modern Tamils founded their social and the cultural identity on the ancient Tamil classics. Collectively, they are called Sangam literature. We have already seen what are the Sangam literatures, how they all developed. We talked about the Sangam periods. Okay, so this is what they developed more and more later. Some of the other writers like F.W. Ellis. F.W. Ellis lived between 1777 to 1819. In the year 1816, he founded the College of Fort St. George, very important college. He formulated a theory. What's the theory is about? The South Indian languages belong to a separate family. We talked about the origin of human, the civilization. So we talked about various civilizations. Among these South Indian languages belong to a specific family which was unrelated to the Indo-Aryan family of languages. So it is not the same, okay, not related to those families of languages. It is separate. So that was his theory. Based on this theory, he has brought about various concepts. The second person we are going to talk about is the Robert Caldwell. Robert Caldwell lived during the time 1814 to 1891. And his work was in 1856. He expanded the previous person, F.W. Ellis' argument theory in a book titled A Comparative Grammar of the Dravidian or the South Indian family of languages. Based on these concepts, he has developed and brought about various ideas. He also established a close kinship, a relation between the Dravidian languages in contrast with the Sanskrit. And also he established the antiquity, ancient works, ancient literatures of Tamil. So when he talked about these Tamil scholars and other scholars who contributed towards Tamil, Now we are going to talk about the second aspect is Tamil intellectuals. Because Tamil intellectuals in 19th centuries, they have brought about various advantages toward these people. They identified a fundamental differences between Tamil and Dravidian, egalitarian and Sanskrit, Sanskrit and Aryan and Brahmanism. So there are two different things, Tamil, Dravidian and egalitarian. Sanskrit, Aryan and Brahmanism. So between all these, they brought about what is the difference among them. And the major concept that they argued that the Tamil was the language of Dravidian people who are non-Brahmin, and their social life was casteless, gender sensitized and egalitarian. So you have to understand the concept. They said the language of Dravidian people, the Dravidian people who are non-Brahmin, first concept, and their social life was casteless, non-Brahmin, casteless, and the third one is the gender sensitized and egalitarian. So these are the various concepts that it is talking about. The Tamil Renaissance contributed to the origin and the growth of Dravidian consciousness, awareness in the Tamil country. These ideas about the Renaissance and all these concepts are exemplified in the Tamil invocation song in the play that is Manon Maniyam, written by B. Sundaranar 1855, who lived between 1855 to 1897. The second person among the intellectuals we are going to learn about Ramalinga Adigal, very important person. Ramalinga Adigal lived between the year 1823 to 1874. He was popularly known as a Vallalar. Okay, when you remember Vallalar, normally we see him as a white and white, and he speaks about the life, Jiva Karunaya. Already we have talked about him in the previous lessons. Okay, Vallalar, very important person when he talks about the life, Karunaya, Karunai. Okay, a piteous person. He says, Vadiya Purkalai Kandabodillam Vadinin, Vadi Chedigalai Kandabodillam Vadinin. The concept, who has a concern even for all the livings. So he questioned the existing Hindu religious orthodox. So his main idea is based on this existing Hindu religious orthodox. And also we have others in their own ways and through their writings contributed to the revival of Tamil literature. Other than Ramalinga Adigal, there are so many others. Okay, we talked about them. First one, Abraham Pandith, who lived between 1859 to 1919, who gave the prominence to the Tamil music, and he published a book on the history of Tamil music. So the music starts, I'll mainly talk about Tamil music starts during his time. And the other people are C.W. Damodaran, whom we have seen already, and then U.V. Swaminathan, Thirivi Kalyana Sundaram, Paridirmar Kalaignur, and then Malay Adigal, Subramania Bharati, yes, Vayaburi, and the poet Bharatidasan. All these great people have contributed a lot toward this revival of Tamil literature. At the same time, M. Singaravelar, who lived between 1860 to 1946, who was an earlier pioneer in Buddhist revival. When there was a reformation in the Buddhism, he was a rivalry person. He promoted communism and socialism to the to the counter the colonial power of the Europeans. Another one, Pandith Ayodhidasar, who lived between 1845 to 1914, and E.V. Ramasamy, who is known as the Periyar, who lived between 1879 to 1973. Both of them held the radical philosophy to defend the rights of the socially underprivileged and marginalized section of the people, who were considered to be the low caste people, marginalized people. They fought for them. So they are also another important people who contributed towards the society. Yes, my dear friends, we talked about the list of so many intellectuals. We talked about so many scholars who have developed, who have contributed a lot towards the Tamil literature, contributed towards the changes, revival, or the transformation, or the renaissance. Now we are going to see some of the important person. So to say, the first one, V.G. Surya Narayana Shastri, who has changed his name into pure Tamil. Paridhirmar Kalaignar. So to say about him, he was born near Madurai, and he later became a professor of Tamil at Madras Christian College. He was one of the earliest scholars to identify the influence of Sanskrit on Tamil. He adopted a pure Tamil name for himself, as we named him, as we called him earlier. Okay, Paridhirmar Kalaignar. He was the first to argue that Tamil is a classical language. And because of that, he demanded that the University of Madras should not call Tamil as a vernacular language. He said, Tamil is a classical language. Don't call it as a vernacular language. He influenced by the Western literary models, a great people, writers, scholars, and he introduced the sonnet from a sonnet form in Tamil. So by influenced by the various writers, okay, the Western writers, he also brought about a sonnet method in Tamil poet. He also wrote novels and plays, a number of essays on science, a scientific study. Tragically, he died at the young age of 33. It's a great loss because of his death to the Tamil society on the culture. The another important person is the Malay Adigal. Malay Adigal, who lived between 1876 to 1950, is considered the father of Tamil linguistic purism and the founder of Thani Tamil Iyakam, that is pure Tamil movement. He wrote a commentary treatise on the Sangam text, that is Pattinapalai and Mullai Pattu. As a young man and energetic man, he worked in a journal, that is Siddhanta Deepika. Later, he served as a Tamil teacher in the Madras Christian College for many years. During this time, he was inclined towards the non-Brahmin movement. His teachers who taught him such a concept like P. Sundaranar and Soma Sundara Nayagar were the key influence for his life in the concept of non-Brahmin movement. Of his movement, that is Thani Tamil Iyakam, pure Tamil movement. What does that mean? What is the work of this Thani Tamil Iyakam? As we know, Malay Adigal promoted the use of pure Tamil words and removal of the Sanskrit influence from the Tamil language. This movement made a great impact on Tamil culture, especially in the language and literature. This Malay Adigal's daughter, Neelambigai, played an important role in the foundation of this movement. His journal, Janasagaram, was renamed as Arivu Kadal. His journal, Jnana Sagaram, which was renamed as Arivu Kadal, and his institution, Samarasa Sangam, was re-cherished as Podu Nilai Kalagam. So, the movement of this changed into Podu Nilai Kalagam. So, Neelambigai later on compiled a dictionary. As we have dictionary of various languages, the Tamil dictionary based on this movement, pure Tamil dictionary that provided a pure Tamil equivalent to the Sanskrit words. Even today, so many language words are mingled in Tamil. Sometimes we also have spoken as a Tanglish. Okay, same like there are so many other words which are mingled with Tamil, the Sanskrit word, various other language words. So had crept into a Tamil vocabulary. So she has played a major role in bringing about finding the new words of Tamil, or to provide a new word or already what was existing, giving a meaning for those Sanskrit and other words. The second topic of this is the rise of Dravidian movement. This movement emerged as a defense of the non-Brahmin against the Brahmin domination. Though so many scholars and intellectuals said earlier there was no movement like a Brahmins. There was casteless society. But when they emerged, these Brahmins dominated the people. So this movement was against this defense of non-Brahmins. An organization called the Madras Non-Brahmin Association, which was founded in the year 1909 to help the non-Brahmin students, because they were not given proper education, they were not given proper accommodation like a hostel, and they were treated very badly in the schools and where they got like a Gurukul, where they got education. So we are going to see the concepts little later also, the self-respect movement when it comes. But earlier they are giving little more ideas about it. In 1912, C. Nadesanar, who was a medical doctor, founded a Madras United League, later renamed as the Madras Dravidian Association, to support Dravidian uplift. This organization focused on educating and supporting non-Brahmin graduates who have studied already, who have not got any job because of the suppression, and conducting regular meetings to share their grievances, their problems, what are the challenges that they face in the society based on this caste. And meanwhile, Nadesanar founded a hostel, a Dravidian home at Tiruplikane, which is also a part of Madras, in July 1916. To address the lack of hostels for the non-Brahmin students, which became a problem, which became a hindrance their educational development. In addition, the home had a literary society for the benefit of non-Brahmin students. So, to talk about this Dravidian movement has brought about uplifting the so-called Dravidian people, non-Brahmins. Okay, that is a major concept of this movement. The third one is the South Indian Liberal Federation. What is the South Indian Liberal Federation? This movement is also otherwise very well known as the Justice Party. It was formed on 20th November 1916. Around 30 prominent, very important, around 30 prominent non-Brahmin leaders. For example, Dr. C. Nadesanar, Sir P.T. Tyagaraja, T.M. Nair, and Alamelu Mangai Tayarammal. These are the people who are non-Brahmins, along with them other members. So around 30 members joined together and they had a meeting. The meeting, which was held in the Victorian Public Hall, the non-Brahmin, with the manifesto, a manifesto was released in the year 1916, December. The manifesto articulated the voice of non-Brahmin communities. This association, South Indian Liberal Federation, started publishing 3 newspapers, Dravidian in Tamil, Justice in English, and Andhra Prakashika in Telugu, because it published in English Justice, so it was known as the Justice Party. The first election under the Montagu-Chelmsford reform was held in the year 1920 after the introduction of the diarchy form of government in the provinces under the British rule. Diarchy in the sense, 2 types of government. Both the Europeans at the same time Indians, both of them ruled, starting a new party. At this time, Justice Party won the election and formed the first ever Indian cabinet in Madras. A. Subrarailu became the chief minister of Madras presidency, and the party formed the government during 1920 to 1923, and later 1923 to 1926 is continued to win the election and had the power in their hand. In this particular contest of Congress party boycotting the legislature, the Justice Party continued to remain in office till 1937. In the year 1937 elections, the Indian National Congress contested the election for the first time and trounced the Justice Party. They declined this particular movement, Justice Party. What is the program? What are the programs and the activities which are played by this Justice Party? First one is the fountainhead of the non-Brahmin movement. What is the major reason for bringing this movement is to have non-Brahmins. This Justice Party government widened education and employment opportunities mainly for the non-Brahmin, for the majority of the population, and created space, lot of space for the political spheres too. This Justice Party removed the legal hindrance restricting inter-caste marriage, allowing them to have marriages among the different castes, and they broke the barriers that prevented depressed classes, that most of them they are neglected others, they are backward, they are so depressed, they are low caste. So the distinction, the discrimination was removed by this movement. To say the depressed class from the use of public well and tanks. Another various reason was, at the time, the Brahmins were allowed to draw the water from the public well, whereas these types of, the depressed classes were not allowed to draw water from the tank, that we know already. And even they were not allowed to drink water from the public tap. So, to remove all these problems, they brought about various types of steps. It was the first to approve, this Justice Party was the first one to approve the participation of women in the electoral politics. in the year 1921, they took a lot of steps for the betterment of women coming into the political areas. This resolution created space for women and thus encouraged Muthulakshmi Ammayar to become the first woman legislator in India in the year 1926. It worked towards for the communal representation or communal reservation for various communities, various groups, societies of the people. Thus, Justice Party further concentrated on the reforms of religious institutions, and the Justice Party introduced the Hindu Religious Endowment HRE Act in the year 1926. Yes, my dear friends, this Tamil transformation, this movement which started in India by the Europeans, the arrival of Europeans, the conquest of the Europeans led the Tamil Renaissance too. And the Tamil Renaissance did not start at once. It started by the advent of printing press. First one to the Tamil literary works, like when you talk about Thambiram Vanakkam, Tirukkural, and the major works made the scholars and the Tamil intellectuals to grow and contribute more towards this. And also we talked about various other people who have contributed a lot towards the growth of Tamil. The another one is the Dravidian culture. How these Dravidians are removed and contribute a lot towards the growth of Tamil language, and how they were living in the casteless movement, how they were trying to eradicate the Brahmanism, the domination of Brahmanism from the society. And the third one, as we have seen, South Indian Liberal Federation brought lot of contribution. Even they have come to the level of uplifting the women who are in the sense who are used as the things in the beginning. In the continuing class we will talk about even the improvement of women by Periyar, the various other concepts we are about to see. Till we start the next session, we will continue to talk about and think and ponder upon the same concepts, whether this Tamil Renaissance still is going on or it stopped. Thank you.